Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Wednesday, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. New studio setup here. I hope you guys are going to like it. I've been doing way more television, way more shows overall. Now have the ability to grab everything in one place, so that is why things look a little bit different. I think you guys are going to like it, and the content is not changing at all. Right off the top, want to give credit to the University of Alabama. I didn't even see this. Evidently on Monday, they tweeted out a video ridiculing me for saying that Georgia was going to win and cover. This is not just the University of Alabama football team. It's the official University of Alabama Twitter account for the university as a whole. I'll share that with you. I don't think my son has seen it yet, my 11-year-old Bama fan. So I'm going to let him see it before all is said and done, and I fully react to it. But I'm going to tweet that out in a little bit. Props to Bama. I was wrong. They deserve the opportunity to tee off on me. I thought Georgia would win by double digits. I clearly was 1 billion% wrong on that prediction. Want to give credit. So that's my response on the University of Alabama teeing off on me. I want to give credit here to Bob Costas. I don't know how many of you have watched the video that I shared of Bob Costas on CNN teeing off on China, the IOC, the NBA, LeBron James, Colin Kaepernick. I think you can add Greg Popovich, Adam Silver, certainly Steve Kerr, over their hypocrisy as it pertains to China. Let me explain a little bit what I mean here. Regular viewers or listeners to any of my programming know that for years now, I have been arguing that we are in a modern day Cold War with China, much like, for those of us who are old enough to remember it, the 1980s when we were going head to head with the Soviet Union before the Soviet Union collapsed. And unlike then, when as a kid, I remember virtually everyone being on the side of the United States. Instead of ripping China, many of our most popular and influential media figures, entertainers, athletes, they're regularly attacking America for comparatively small flaws in conjunction with the larger flaws that exist in China, namely genocide. Let me give you an example. China is right now, for their sneaker companies, producing sneakers that are made with Muslim slave labor cotton. And there are NBA players that have marketing deals, endorsement deals with current sneaker companies that are producing their shoes using slave labor cotton. This is a real life story that actually exists right now. The NBA, with all their social justice warrior slogans and everything else, has been unwilling to stand up to Chinese communism, authoritarianism, genocide, basic human rights violations all over the place. In fact, they haven't even been willing to support basic democracy or basic human rights in Hong Kong. Okay, this has been brought into stark relief recently as the WTA, the Women's Tennis Association, as Ted Cruz said earlier this week on our radio program, Ted Cruz said the WTA has more balls than the NBA for what it has been willing to do in China. Namely, they have pulled all of their events out of China as a result of the Peng Shuai incident, where a tennis player accused a prominent Communist Party official of sexual assault, and then they disappeared her. The NBA, comparatively, hasn't been willing to do anything. The International Olympic Committee, nothing. The overall Colin Kaepernick's, LeBron James, Greg Popovich's, the Steve Kerrs of the world, who rip America to the high heavens, have been unwilling to speak out about China. I've been talking about this for years. So you can imagine my surprise when, credit to Bob Costas, I saw him go on CNN and say much of what I have been saying for the past couple of years on CNN about China, the NBA, Colin Kaepernick, LeBron James, and the rank hypocrisy involved in taking tens of millions of dollars from Nike, which is profiting immensely off of Chinese human rights violations and not holding anybody accountable for all of those lies. This is a significant story, okay? And what hasn't happened, by and large, I've seen all of a sudden Jake Tapper talking about it on CNN. I've seen Bob Costas talking about it on CNN. We've seen all of a sudden all of these people who tried to pretend that this was not going on suddenly rising up and talking about this as a major issue in American life. And I think you got to give credit to Enes Kanter, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. I think you have to give credit to the WTA, such that even the weak Joe Biden administration, along with Australia, along with England, and along with Canada so far, have all announced they will not be sending diplomatic delegations to China in February. Believe it or not, I still can't believe this is real. We're going to go to China as a world to celebrate the 2022 Winter Olympics in February in Beijing. The fact that China has been allowed to host the Winter Olympics, given everything that's going on right there in the present situation, is frankly an utter embarrassment that is unworthy of anyone with a functional brain actually supporting. So I'm going to talk about Enes Kanter, murder rate, all different sorts of stories here coming up in a moment. But first, I want to tell you, you want to do something really smart this month? Outkick's giving you a huge opportunity to cut your cell phone bill in half thanks to Pure Talk. You can't outkick their coverage because Pure Talk is one of the largest 5G networks in the country, saves the average family over $800 a year. I have a Pure Talk phone. You can as well. You can get unlimited talk, text, 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. All you have to do, you get to keep your same phone number, and you can even get an iPhone 12 for just $479. They have a 30-day risk-free guarantee, so there's absolutely nothing to lose here. All you have to do is go to puretalk.com, shop for the plan and the phone that's right for you, then enter the promo code OUTKICK, and you'll save 50% off your first month and save on a new phone. That's puretalk.com, promo code OUTKICK. One more time, puretalk.com, promo code OUTKICK. Get signed up today. Enes Kanter, who has recently become an American citizen and changed his last name to Freedom, said in a recent interview that the NBA begged him to not wear anti-China sneakers. In other words, the NBA top officials begged Enes Kanter, according to Kanter, not to wear shoes that were critical of China because the NBA continues to shut up and dribble for China. Now, the NBA, which is a social justice warrior organization, has rank hypocrisy on its hands when it comes to the way that they are dealing with China. Coaches, almost all the players, no one will speak out and be honest about what is actually going on as it pertains to Enes Kanter and his allegations and restrictions that he has argued against for the NBA as it pertains to China. Now, CNN, Fox News, they've actually done a decent job of covering this story. You know who hasn't covered this story? Sports media. Because the sports media is in bed with China. They don't want to utter a word of criticism about the NBA, its players, its coaches, or its commissioner. And they continue to give everyone in the league a free pass. Let them take shots at America. Don't raise a single issue whatsoever at anybody associated with what's going on in China. Credit to Enes Kanter, Freedom, for speaking out, for embracing freedom around the world, and being willing to actually speak truth to power, something the vast majority of people in the NBA are not willing to do. And this is significant. Enes Kanter's family is Turkish, so he understands, as many people out there do, the importance of embracing freedom. Because ironically, many of the people that embrace freedom in America the most are not native-born Americans. They are people who have lived in other countries, Venezuela, Cuba, Turkey, Middle Eastern, African nations, where there is Asian nations. No freedom for citizens to be able to speak out. Some of the people who are in love with our constitutional freedoms the most are, in fact, not native-born Americans. And let me just say this, too. Big story that is out there coming out of the Wall Street Journal today. They had a big poll that they did of the American electorate. I believe Joe Biden had a 41% approval rating. No surprise there. Lots of people don't like him. For the first time ever, there was head-to-head a dead tie between Hispanic voters over whether they support Republicans or whether they support Democrats. And let me just say this right now. I believe that Republican policies, by and large, are supported by Hispanic people. It's a big block of people. Obviously, very much difference between, say, somebody who's from Venezuela, somebody who's from Mexico, someone who is from Cuba, someone who is from El Salvador. They're all theoretically classified the same as Latinos. It's a big group of people. But for a long time, Democrats have believed that demographics are their future because they believed they were going to win a huge percentage of Hispanic voters. But something interesting has happened. Hispanic voters are breaking now for Republicans much more so than they ever have before. In fact, Hispanic men now overwhelmingly favor Republican policies over Democratic policies. Why would that be? Because by and large, Hispanic men are in favor of opportunity. They do not believe America is an awful place. They want to be able to work. They want to be able to make a living for their family. They're a lot like other men all over the country. In fact, there is a massive difference between men and women in how they vote in America today. Men overwhelmingly, by and large now, support Republicans. Women overwhelmingly support Democrats. But right now, we are seeing an important shift in what is happening with the Hispanic vote, and it is ending up right now, according to the Wall Street Journal, in a 50-50 dead heat. Democrats can't win elections in the years ahead with a 50-50 breakdown in terms of the overall vote. And this is significant, I would say, for Republicans because in 2000, the electorate was 77% white. By 2020, it was just 67% white. Democrats can't rely exclusively on white voters. Republicans can't rely exclusively on white voters, but Democrats can't rely just on the fact that there are more minority voters now as their perpetual pathway to power. In fact, the way to forever destroy identity politics, which I believe in conjunction with cancel culture is the single twin threat that is the most significant in America today, is to blow up the Democratic Party's relationship with black voters. If Republicans could ever get 25% of the black vote, the Democratic Party as it is presently constituted doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't work. If 50-50 Hispanic votes break towards Republicans and Democrats, identity politics doesn't work either. This is a systemically and seismically large story that many people are actually missing as we move forward in this country if this can continue to occur. Murder rates. This is unfortunate. Murder rates are surging all over the country. And if you haven't seen it, 12 different cities set an all-time high for murders already in 2021, even though we still have basically a full month of data remaining. 12 cities all over the country, a lot of differences that have broken their all-time record for homicides. Let me explain who those cities are. Portland, Oregon. You've got Tucson, Arizona. Albuquerque, New Mexico. St. Paul, Minnesota. Louisville, Kentucky. Austin, Texas. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Columbus, Ohio. Indianapolis, Indiana. Toledo, Ohio. Rochester, New York. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. All of those cities, those 12 cities that I just read you, have all set new all-time records in 2021 for murders. That comes off of 2020, which saw the largest single year increase in murders that we have ever seen in the modern era, nearly a 30% increase according to FBI data in murders. Why is that happening? Twofold. One, defund police is the single dumbest argument to be advocated by any politicians in my lifetime. I really do believe that. It is giving up the ghost now because the natural impact of defund the police, unfortunately, has been an overwhelming increase in minority deaths, majority black deaths. The number one impact of defund the police has been tons more black murders in this country. That's the natural results. People don't want to talk about it because they get uncomfortable when it comes to facts. Defund the police failed. We need more police. We need to fund the police. We need to refund the police beyond a shadow of a doubt. Second part of this, we've got district attorneys all over the country that are putting people back on the streets who have no business being back on the streets after committing violent crimes. Waukesha, Wisconsin is a perfect example of this. Darrell Brooks, the murderer, it appears, of 6 different innocent people at a Christmas parade, did not have any business being back on the streets. In fact, if you look at most murders that are taking place in this country, I firmly believe that when you do background checks, you will find that almost every murderer had already been arrested for a violent crime and had no business being back on the streets. Ultimately, Joe Biden got things right in 1994 with the crime bill that everybody passed. We need more significant punishments for violent crime. We need less bail reform. We need more people being locked up if we want this country to be safe. Instead, we are putting everybody right back on the streets and allowing them to victimize innocent people, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, all over this country. That is what is going on every single day in this country, and it needs to end now. So that is going on. LSU, this is a crazy story. I'll get to LSU in a moment and the money that they were willing to put on the table for everybody out there when it came to Jimbo Fisher. But first, I want to tell you all about Manscaped. My friends, I've got their products right down here. I'm going to grab them. I'm going to bring them right back in to the overall setup here. I will hold them up. We have got right now the Lawnmower 4.0. We have got the Weed Whacker, which goes after your nose and ear hair. Both of these are major impacts in terms of making your grooming way more productive and way more effective and way more efficient than they would otherwise be. Look right there at the Manscaped 4.0, and let me tell you all about it while I also show you the Weed Whacker and tell you how impactful both of these products can be. Right now, you can get hooked up with an incredible offer where you get 20% off and free shipping if you use the code DBAP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping. You need to go ahead and take care of your below the belt region. Also, as you get older, those nose and ear hairs, you need the Lawnmower 4.0, and you also need the Weed Whacker. You need to go to manscaped.com, get hooked up today, free shipping and 20% off on all products. All you have to do is use the code DBAP20. Once you do so, you'll be glad that you did. Big story that is out there now. Long rumored pursuit of Jimbo Fisher by LSU. Been talked about for a great deal of time. Now all of the details have officially come out today, at least that I have seen them. In addition to LSU going after Lincoln Riley and ultimately signing Brian Kelly, his family, in a Southern accent, is very excited for him to be in LSU. LSU reportedly offered 8 years, $125 million to Brian Kelly. That breaks down $13 million a year. Again, that is 8 years, $125 million in availability there. This is a blockbuster offer. Jimbo Fisher, instead of leaving, is racking up an incredible recruiting class right now at LSU. Right now, 180 $25 million he left on the table to be able to dominate, in theory, at Texas A&M, sitting at 8-4 right now this year. Jimbo Fisher, but putting together one of the 5 best recruiting classes in the country right now, with early signing day just a couple of weeks away. Going to be intriguing to see how all of this shakes out. Big news coming tonight. We have got a vote that is coming down the line on the vaccine mandate. I told you, Joe Biden's unconstitutional mandate through OSHA for anyone who has over 100 employees, it is going to be crushed tonight by the United States Senate, where a couple of Democrats, it appears, are going to join all of the Republicans, and they are going to come out and say this vaccine mandate is unconstitutional. We can't actually support it. And by the way, the definition for fully vaccinated is also about to change. If you already got double doses of the vaccine, Dr. Fauci went on CNN today and said in the future, you are going to have the booster to be considered fully vaccinated. So I look forward for the people who already got the vaccine having a battle going forward over the vaccine mandate. And let me just discuss this for a minute. Is it too conspiratorial to point out that Omicron, which appears to be less of a significant factor in terms of a COVID variant than Delta and even maybe the original virus, in fact, the hopes would be that this virus would mutate and that the variations would become less of an issue going forward and more like the common cold. When nobody is wanting to get the booster, all of a sudden the media comes out and trumpets the rise of Omicron and how much it is growing and how much of a threat it does out of South Africa. And all of a sudden, everybody lines up and starts going out and getting their boosters. Is it too much of a coincidence that when no one is getting the booster and everyone seems to be over COVID, all of a sudden the media has to trumpet the rise of a new variant, even if the data reflects, even from the South African doctor who found it, that people shouldn't actually be that much afraid of the new variant? I'm just saying the timing on this is awfully amazing. Every time it feels like people in America are ready to get back to normal and aren't getting the vaccines at a high enough rate, aren't getting boosted at a high enough rate, there suddenly arises a new variant that everybody has to be scared to death of, and that seems to happen time after time. Awfully coincidental, I would say, by and large, in the way that continues to take place. Finally, I want to tell you about competitive cycling. Whether you are getting hooked up, Competitive Cyclist is the online specialty retailer of road and mountain bikes, components, apparel, and accessories. They've got everything you could possibly want to be able to bike, and the real difference at Competitive Cyclist are the gearheads. Equal parts customer service and cycling fanatics, gearheads are former pro athletes, Olympians, seasoned cyclists with years of experience, all available by phone, email, or chat for product recommendations and hard-won advice. That's why you need to go to competitivecyclist.com/clay and enter the promo code CLAY, that's my name, CLAY, to get 15% off your first full-priced purchase plus free shipping on orders of $50 or more. Some exclusions apply. Right now, you get 15% off plus free shipping at competitivecyclist.com/clay. Enter the promo code CLAY. That's competitivecyclist.com, competitivecyclist.com/clay, promo code CLAY. Some exclusions apply. Final thought here. Chris Cuomo is potentially going to be suing CNN, arguing that he is owed between $18 and $20 million. CNN fired him for cause, even though he had recently signed a 4-year contract extension. Of course, CNN and Jeffrey Zucker made the decision to fire him based on the fact that they said he was not forthcoming, involved in the investigation surrounding his brother and the sexual assault. His brother, of course, Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. So there are reports now that Chris Cuomo is going to be filing a lawsuit, and he potentially, Chris Cuomo, is going to be throwing Jeffrey Zucker under the bus here in what could turn into a really ugly lawsuit for CNN, as they now have to fill the Chris Cuomo spot in primetime. He was the highest rated of several low-rated hosts on CNN, Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, and Chris Cuomo. They now have a new opening in their primetime relationship. We will see what happens with that lineup, but it is a mess going forward for CNN. All right, be live tomorrow, as always, on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show. Appreciate all your support there. Most to listen to on the podcast month of all time in November. Hoping to set another record in December. Appreciate all the places that have made us number one. Tons of cities. More details on that coming out in the near future. In the meantime, appreciate all of you. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis, and this has been Outkick